So recently, the first trailer for the Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem movie came out, and we got our official first look at the new Ninja Turtles. If you've been a subscriber of the channel here for a while, you know I'm obsessed with breaking down Ninja Turtle designs. And in this video, we're going to go ahead and do just that. There's a lot to discuss. We're going to break down each turtle individually, starting off with Leonardo. So let's waste no time and go ahead and dive on in. Alright, so straight off the bat, I gotta say that out of the four brothers, in my opinion, Leonardo looks the best. Everything about his design is just hitting for me. Let's start off with the heads of the turtles first. Leonardo's head is that classic Ninja Turtles head shape that to me is just such an iconic shape that when it's used, it just gets everybody on board. He's wearing a traditional style Ninja Turtles headband with pretty long tie-offs, which has always been a fan favorite, and I think it looks good here. Now, the eyes are a bit of a rounder shape, and they have pupils, so they're not solid white eyes, but that's not to say that they couldn't at some point switch them on, for lack of a better term, similar to how the 2012 Turtles did. Now, the only reason I think this could be a possibility is because a while back when there was some leaked concept art that came out, there was a shot in one of those pieces that had them with all white glowing eyes. But then again, things could have changed since then. I know there's a lot of stuff from that original concept art that didn't end up being in this final design, so we'll wait and see what happens there. But I thought it was worth mentioning. All right, let's move on to the body. Leo appears to be the tallest of the brothers, which I like. I feel like Leo as the leader looks cool as the tallest. Now, he's got two diagonal belt straps, just like he does in the 1990 movie, by the way, and the Mirage comics. I really like this look on Leo. Now, the belt isn't a dark brown, how it is in a lot of previous versions. It's actually black and has a buckle with his initial on it. The color scheme and the font all look very similar to the old school Playmates figures. Now, if you look on the other side of the belt here, you can see a regular belt buckle, and on the other side, we can see a couple of ninja stars. All right, let's move on over to the shell. The front part, or the chest and torso area, looks kind of a little bit like certain versions of the IDW comics turtles with the squared off hard edges on the top. Now, the back of the shell looks a lot like the 90s trilogy turtle shells. The color, the pattern, the texture, excellent choice here in my opinion. It looks good. I always wanted to touch those old school shells from the old movies, and I get a similar feeling here. Now, let's take a look at the elbow, knee pads, and wrist wraps. These are all blue, just like his headband, and look to be the same material. This is pretty big since most versions, since the original 1987 show, have gone with a brown leather on these parts. So this is a return back to that old 80s show style. Real quick, let's turn over to the design of his weapons. If you look at the hilts or the handles of the swords, they look like carved wood. And also here on the close-ups, they almost look a little bit more red, but I think that's just the lighting here. Now, engraved on the hilts are the words consequences and rules. We'll see what that's about in the movie. You see the swords go crisscross on Leo's back, which is usually the case, but not always. But I am glad they went with it here, as it just looks cool from the front, seeing the two swords popping out. Now, overall, Leo is my favorite out of the new designs. He kind of reminds me of an animated version of the 1990 Turtles movie. Can't wait to see him in action. Let's move on over to the next brother.
Wait, did you hear that? What was that?
All right, let's take a look at Raphael, starting with his head. He's got on a full cover pirate style headband, and this is something we've seen more and more with recent versions of the Turtles when it comes to Raph, and it looks like they decided to go with it here too. It's got longer tie-offs, which I like better than shorter ones, so that's cool. Now, you can see when he smiles, this version of Raph has a missing tooth. I believe it's showing that he's a little bit more rough and tumble when compared to his brothers, and we see a little bit more of that in his design a little bit later. Now, with the shape of his head, it is a little bit more stylized than his brothers. For the most part, it is the regular Ninja Turtles head shape, but it's a little bit more squished down and wider and not as symmetrical as Leo's. What do you guys think about it? Let me know down below in the comments. I think it's okay, but I like Leo's a little better. Now, let's move on to the shell like we did with Leo. The front chest area is squared off at the top just the same, although Raphael's front has scratches on it. Again, I think it's showing he's a little rougher, unlike his brothers, who are probably a little bit more careful. Now, the back of the shell looks great, just like Leonardo's. And just one final thing on Raph's shell is that it does look a bit bigger or wider than his brother's shell, although physically, like his build, his arms, his legs, he's not that much bigger. He's pretty much the same size except for the shell. Now, he does appear to be the second tallest after Leo, which I think is cool. In my eyes, they're the two big brothers of the group, so it's kind of cool having them be like the two towers of the family. Now, Raphael has a regular belt, so just horizontal, no diagonal straps, which is good. That's what he normally has. It's black and it has his initial on it, again like the old figures, although where Raphael's initial is, you can see that it's being held on by tape. He also has a little pouch off to the side as well. And finally, just like Leo, Raph has got the color elbow pads, knee pads, and wrist wraps. All right, let's take a quick look at Raphael's weapons here. You can see the handles look to also be made out of wood, just like Leo's. And this seems to be a theme here among all the turtle weapons. And not just that they're wood, they all have like little carvings in them, as you can see here when looking at the toys for the upcoming film. One last thing when it comes to his sai, it looks like one of them broke at one point or something because he taped it, or maybe there's a strategic reason for taping sai here, but either way, it looks like we have some tape here on one of the sai blades. Let me know what you think of his new look. Let's move on over to Donatello.
Just stop talking. You're ruining my concentration.
You're fine.
All right, let's start off with Donatello's head. I think second to Leo, he's got the best head shape. It just looks good in my opinion. He's got a traditional style headband with long tie-offs, which looks good too. Now, this Donatello's design was given glasses, which I believe the only other time that happens was in the Bay movie. I've seen some fans are cool with this, but other fans don't dig it as much. Let me know what you think down below. When it comes to Donnie's midsection, his belt is pretty much like Raph's. It's just a regular horizontal belt. It's got the initial like the rest of the turtles, and it has like a regular belt buckle off to the side. And he appears to have a fanny pack attached to his belt as well. Now, no diagonal strap on this Donatello belt, which in past versions, sometimes he has and sometimes he doesn't. Personally, I like it when he does have it. Now, we can see that he tucks in his cell phone in his belt, which is probably a phone that they all share, but he's the one that carries it if I had to guess. You can also see that he wears a pair of headphones around his neck. We'll see if he uses them in the movie. Now, when it comes to Donatello's bow staff, we can see it's a similar wood to Leonardo and Raphael's weapon handles, and it looks like Donatello's carved some type of block design on the handle part, almost how people will whittle designs on pencils, if you're familiar with that. You can see some stickers throughout his bow staff. I believe one of them is of Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, so it looks like Donatello is an anime fan in this version. Overall, he seems to be the third tallest, and his overall build is a little smaller than Raph and Leo's, but he's not quite as small as Michelangelo, which is the last turtle we need to look at. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so let's start off with Michelangelo's head. So all the turtles, for the most part, have that classic Ninja Turtles shaped head, and Mikey's no exception. They're all just slightly different variations of it. And with Michelangelo, it looks a little bit more squished down and wide. It almost looks like the watermelon that he's holding in the trailer, which he comments on, funny enough. Proportionately, his head looks kind of big compared to the size of the rest of his body, and I think this is just to show him being the youngest. Now, he's got a regular style Ninja Turtles mask with the long tie-offs, which I like, and as we can see, this version of Michelangelo will have braces, which is interesting because when the designs were leaked a long time ago, it was Leonardo who had braces back then. Looks like they ended up switching that up. Now, moving down to his body, he has a horizontal belt, which is the norm with Michelangelo, so that's good, and he has the initial as well, which all of the initials are in yellow, which again is just like those old school Playmates figures. If you remember, the movie crew did go down and study those old school figures when they were early on in the development of this movie. I wonder if inspiration for the designs came from those visits. Anyways, Mikey's belt has a regular metal belt buckle off to the side, and he appears to holster his nunchucks by just tucking them into his belt towards the back. Now, the back of the shell looks great, and he's got orange wraps everywhere on his limbs. So overall, Mikey appears to be the shortest out of the bunch, and he's also the skinniest. Now, when it comes to Michelangelo's weapons, his nunchucks, we see that the handles are made out of wood, same type of wood as the rest of his brothers, and also with like carved patterns all over them, just like his brothers as well. You can see the chain connecting the two handles is embedded into the wood, and you also see little stickers on the handles, but I can't make out what exactly they are. But yeah, that's about it for Mikey's design.
Well, nothing we can do. You guys want to grab pizza?
So yeah, what do you think of the new turtle designs? Let me know down below in the comments. If we get multiple movies moving forward, do you think we're going to see these turtles grow up? Kind of how you see the kids grow up in the Harry Potter franchise. I think that'd be awesome to watch how their designs would evolve if they did do that. Overall, I think these designs do a good job of mixing old with new. They're recognizable. They look like the Ninja Turtles, which I think just that in itself is good. That's going to make them super marketable, but at the same time, it's fresh, it's new. Let's see how this movie does and where they go with these turtles. We'll cover any updates here on the channel, so make sure to subscribe if you're new, hit like if you enjoyed the video, helps out the channel, and also follow on all the socials. Links are down below in the description. Thanks again everyone for watching. I will see you in a little bit with another video. Take care.
Armed.